Greetings my little guzzlers. We're going to make something a little bit festive because it's about Christmas time now. Not quite, but we're going to make some sort of festive cupcakes. Now these are from CupCake Jemma again, and these are some cranberry, pistachio and white chocolate cupcakes. To start with, we need to make some cranberry sort of like jam. Okay, that's going to go as part of the flavouring in the buttercream. So I'm going to start by putting about 400 grams. If you've got fresh cranberries, you can use them. If you've got frozen ones, you can use them. And into that, 100 grams of caster sugar. And then all we're going to do is put that on a medium heat and just cook it for about 5 minutes until it's gone all mushy. So that's what we're going to start with. So there's my cranberry sort of jam. Now Jemma just said after you've cooked it, it'll just go so mushy, you just put it through a sieve. Now, I don't know whether my sieve's extra fine, but what I found was easiest, I transferred it to a little mini food processor, blitzed it all, and it's given like a nice similar texture to what Jemma had, because we're not actually going to be using this directly as on the cakes as it were. This is going to be mixed in with something else. We've got a lot there. Okay, we won't be using anywhere near that now. Anyway, what we're going to do start with, so we're now going to make the cupcakes. So I've got a saucepan, and into that I've got 100 grams of white chocolate. There will be more chocolate in this cake, all right, but in the cupcake we've got 100 grams of white chocolate, and then I've got 150 grams of butter. She specified cold butter. I'm not quite sure why you bother, because we're about to heat it all up. But anyway, butter, about 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Technically speaking, that's optional if you don't really like your vanilla. And then I've got 120 mils of milk. And what we're going to do is we're now just going to put that onto a low heat and keep an eye on it, stirring it occasionally until that's all nicely melted together. Okay, now we're obviously going to need some eggs and some flour. But I just want chocolate, so butter, chocolate, milk, vanilla. That's right. Yeah, I'm sitting there thinking I've forgotten something because I've got some sugar there, and I was saying, hang about, where's the sugar going? But I'll come to that. So we're going to need the flour and the eggs, but what we don't want to do is end up putting this in there when it's still hot, because you'll end up with like scrambled eggs. So we're going to get this all melted down first, and then when that just is melted, we'll put it to one side and allow it to cool. Okay, so that's all melted. I've just put that to one side to allow that to cool. Okay, now I've got 120 grams of caster sugar, and you want about 1.5 large eggs. These weren't particularly large, so I've got 2. Green like that. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to whisk these together to get that sugar all dissolved into it. Now you're going to want that mixture, okay, when that's cooled. You're also going to want some flour. You're going to want 180 grams of self-raising flour, which I've already got measured out. This makes regular size cupcakes. I've got mine slightly bigger than regular size cupcake, but hopefully we'll eke out about 12. Okay, I've got my oven on at 170, and so just going to let that cool a little bit longer, and then we're going to start mixing it all together. So now I'm going to just gradually mix this in, and then when this is all mixed in, we'll take that 180 grams of sifted self-raising flour, and whisk that into it as well. So we want to make sure we get all of that flour in and give it a good old mix to get rid of all the lumps. And then, like I say, we're going to need cupcake cases, hopefully 12. Okay, and then I would suggest you just get yourself a little jug and you distribute this into there using that little jug. And then it's going to go into that oven, 170, for about 18 to 20 minutes till they're nice and springy on top. Okay, and then we'll take them out, let them cool, and we can then start preparing our buttercream topping. But we don't want to be applying that while they're warm. And also we're going to do a little liquid, you know, not a liquid, but you know what I mean. We're going to do like a little soft centre in the cupcakes using pistachio paste. But we'll worry about that once our cupcakes have cooled. So my cupcakes have cooled now. So with an apple corer, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the centre out of each one. Okay, and we're going to fill this with a pistachio cream, if you like. Now for this you're going to need some pistachio paste, and you've got to be really careful because it's not the easiest thing to find. You'll find when you do searches for it, oh yes, you'll find some pops up, there you go, pistachio butter. That's different. Okay, pistachio butter is effectively the same as pistachio paste to start with. It's ground up, finely ground up in like a processor, pistachios. But with the butter, you tend to add oil, and therefore you get a peanut butter. We want a paste which is a sweeter thing, which is made without oil. Essentially, you grind up the pistachios and then you mix it like sugar. Okay, don't use butter. So I've got a jar there, rather a large jar, because it's the only thing I can find, to be honest. I'll have to see if I can find some other uses for it, because I'm not going to use all of that. And what you're going to want is 150 grams of double cream, or as you Americans would say, heavy cream. Okay, so I'm just going to put these to one side, and in this bowl I've got the cream, and what I'm going to add to that, to be honest, it looks very much like peanut butter, but it does say it's cream. It says it's spreadable. So I'm going to add about 2 generous teaspoons. I'll have to give that a bit of a wipe now of that, and then we're just going to whisk that together. I just had a look at the ingredients on that. It is certainly pistachios with sugar, and then I saw the little bit that said with olive oil. So not strictly speaking pistachio paste, but that's what you get with Amazon shitty search. They give you things you didn't even search for. I'm surprised it didn't come up with something like peanut butter. I have to say Amazon search facilities are shite. Anyway, this will have to do. So what we're going to do is just whisk this by hand until it starts forming some peaks, as it were. Not, you know, stiff peaks, but thickens up a bit. And I'm a bit wary with that oil in it, how well that's going to do that. And then what we're going to do is use a piping bag with a small nozzle, and we're just going to fill each well in the cupcake. And then we'll be making up some cranberry buttercream to go on top, and we'll also be wanting to melt down some white chocolate. Ooh, should have used electric mix for this. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to fill each little well with this pistachio cream. Whoops, got air bubbling out. I did give it a little taste actually, and it doesn't taste like oily or anything. It does just taste sort of nice and nutty and creamy. So get these all filled, and then we're just going to put them to one side while we make the buttercream up. So they're all filled. Like I said, I'd had a little taste and that tastes fine. Now into I'm going to do sand mixer because I'm using artificial sugar and make a bloody mess everywhere. I've got 150 grams of unsalted butter, softened, and what we're going to do, we're going to use the beater, and I'm just going to you put it in the hole, and then we're just going to beat that together for about 10 minutes till it's nice and pale and fluffy. And then we're going to need some icing sugar. For that I've got 340 grams, and then we'll be adding several generous dollops of the cranberry jam as such that we made earlier. We'll do that sort of like taste as we go. We don't want it too wet. That's quite wet, that goo. We don't want it too wet because you'll see why. And then I've got about 100 or so grams of white chocolate, which I'm going to melt down whilst this is doing this. And you obviously need a piping bag with quite a wide nozzle because we want to put a mound on there. So I'm just going to get cream in the butter. So now what I'm going to do, in true cupcake Jemma style, I'm going to add about half the icing sugar, and then get that whisked together before we add the rest of it, and then I'll get it blending, and then we'll start adding the cranberry jam as it were in. So that's got the buttercream blended together, but like I say, what we're going to do now is I'm just going to take the largest couple of tablespoons, well, almost tablespoons of the cranberry, and we're just now going to mix that through, and it should give us a nice colour, but also do a little taste. And if I want it a little bit more tart, so long as it's not going too soft and runny, I'll add a little bit more. So I did end up adding another generous tablespoon. You see a bit unmixed down in the bottom there of this. Didn't think it quite got the cranberry sort of tang to it. Added another, like I say, tablespoon. Give that a mix in, and I have to say, definitely got a tang to it. So what we do now is we just put on a bit flatter than that. Whoops, a little mound of the buttercream on top of each one. Like I say, I've melted down some chocolate. I'll show you what I've done. We're going to do with the chocolate and the nuts. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drizzle chocolate over the top. Now, the buttercream's quite wet, and if you watch Cupcake Jemma do it, she picks it up and dunks it in the chocolate. I suspect I'll do that, it'll fall off top. To be honest, I know it will because I've just tried it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour this melted chocolate over the top of each one, okay, to get a nice chocolate coating on top. I'm just going to need to melt down a little bit more chocolate, just finish them off, but all I'm going to do is I've got some finely chopped up pistachios. You don't have to have them fine, it's up to you. And I'm now just going to sprinkle some of these on top of the chocolate while it's still wet. And then I think the best thing for it will be just to pop it in the fridge, just to help that chocolate set. Not sure it's going to stay set, mind you, but we obviously want to get it so it's not quite so molten. Alright, so like I say, just got to get a little bit more chocolate on those two, but there you go. I think we'll taste one. So I haven't let them set yet, but I'm going to try this one. So I added some more chocolate. So this is obviously still quite sticky with that white chocolate, but who cares? Let's give it a go. All right. It's got the nuts, white chocolate, and that nice tangy. You just keep getting these hits of cranberry. Can be messy, these like this. Nice little cupcake. Hints of chocolate, but it is a bit overwhelmed by the chocolate on top, so I don't know how much of it is coming through from that. I'm going to have to eat this with a fork, I think. But there you go, cupcake Jemmas, cranberry, pistachio and white chocolate cupcakes.